I'll lead off with this confirmation that the Obama gang, the Obama administration, was spying on the Trump campaign. And this is in a New York Times article that appeared this week. It's a big one. It appeared in the middle of the week, talking about the initial days of the FBI investigation, Justice Department supposed investigation, if whatever you want to call it, into the Trump campaign and its alleged ties to Russia. Now, what happens is there's an IG report about to come out from the Department of Justice on this and other matters. So the deep state is now spinning its case against Donald Trump because the IG report is expected to be critical, at least, of some of those involved in the FBI, probably Comey, as I mentioned, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, the two senior FBI officials who were sending text messages demonstrating they were virulently anti-Trump and pro-Hillary Clinton, and people like Andrew McCabe and who knows who else in the Justice Department. So all of this is going to come out, which is going to undermine the credibility of the Russia investigation concerning Donald Trump, as if it needs any further undermining with the Clinton DNC dossier and such. But so what happens is the deep state knows what's coming, and so they put out a story through the New York Times trying to justify their spying on President Trump. And it's astonishing in the sense that it confirms that the Justice Department and FBI, if they had something, they ain't telling it in the New York Times, had something legitimate to investigate the Trump campaign over. But that didn't stop them from, after they shut down, as you know, corruptly, the Justice Department FBI inquiry into Hillary Clinton's misuse of non-governmental servers to house her emails, including classified information. As soon as they shut that down, they targeted Trump. Peter Strzok, the anti-Trumper that I told you about, traveled to London to meet with an Australian ambassador who had somehow gained some information about an ancillary Trump figure who was boasting about Clinton emails and the Russians. Why on earth that would be enough to spark an investigation, I don't buy it. And you can bet the dossier was floating around at the FBI and DOJ at that time, or elements of the dossier, again, funded by the Clinton DNC operation, used to justify, I think, this spying on Donald Trump. So they had Peter Strzok traveling to London, and of course they're very dramatic in the New York Times story about it. But little did they know that little did we know that the Justice Department and the FBI was doing the following. They were getting the phone records of Trump campaign officials. That's right, the phone records. According to the New York Times, and I have the quote here, the FBI obtained phone records and other documents using national security letters, a secret type of subpoena. You heard that, a secret type of subpoena. And at least one government informant met several times with Mr. Page and Mr. Papadopoulos, current and former officials said. That has become a politically contentious point, with Mr. Trump's allies questioning whether the FBI was spying on the Trump campaign or trying to entrap campaign officials. Okay, so you have it here in the New York Times. They obtained the phone records. We don't know who, but the target of their investigation was Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Michael Flynn, and Paul Manafort. Manafort was campaign manager for a period of time. Papadopoulos and Page were ancillary figures of the campaign, advisors. And obviously General Flynn was one of the top campaign people advising and helping President Trump. What was the basis for those national security letters? They don't say. They suggest, well, Flynn received $45,000 from a Russia firm as part of his business. Well, that's enough to generate a counterintelligence spying operation against you? Well, if that were the case, how come they were not investigating Hillary Clinton for her $500,000 cash payment that her husband received while she was Secretary of State from a Russia front company? involved in the Uranium One deal. See, this is the big lie around the Russia investigation. They say there were ties between these Trump campaign officials and the Russians, and those ties were enough to take the extraordinary step of snapping up campaign phone records and inserting an informant into the Trump campaign, or close to it in the least. Are we aware of any similar activity with Hillary Clinton? Despite knowing that she was getting money from Russia and all sorts of other foreign corporations and foreign governments abroad while she was Secretary of State, despite knowing that John Podesta, her top campaign person, was also in business with the Russian front companies, despite knowing that her campaign had paid a vendor, Fusion GPS, to communicate with Russia intelligence sources to dig up this scandalous dirt on President Trump that turned out not to be true, it looks like. So you've got Hillary Clinton talking to Russia intelligence to target her campaign opponent through Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele. And what does the FBI do? They use the information to target Trump as an excuse also to target Carter Page in that FISA warrant. Talk about corruption. So we have confirmation that the Obama administration was spying on the Trump campaign for specious reasons. Phone records. So they were wiretapping, it looks like, Carter Page, and who knows who else, because we can't be sure that we know about every FISA warrant. And they were also taking up the phone records of these top Trump campaign officials through this secret process. And national security letters and these secret subpoenas aren't necessarily improper all the time, but when you're targeting a presidential campaign with them, unbelievable. So, you know the IG report might be pretty bad if this is what's coming out in the New York Times, because they're trying to pre-leak the information so that when the IG comes out, it takes some of the wind out of the sails of the report, and they're obviously trying to spin the information. And they're suggesting there was no politics involved in this investigation, even though they acknowledge in the report that the FBI was concerned what would happen if Hillary Clinton won, because they thought she was going to win, and they thought Donald Trump was going to lose. And of course, James Comey has admitted that as well. So you had 4 officials of the Trump campaign being targeted for reasons we still don't know why, other than the Clinton DNC dossier. Again, the political campaign of Donald Trump's opponent gave documents to the FBI, who then used that throughout all levels of the administration to justify spying on President Trump, or then candidate Trump. And by all accounts, it's still being used by Mr. Mueller today.